issued by the French Embassy, said the main purpose of the fund was to develop and improve the teaching of the French language to meet the needs of learners in key institutional sectors such as the secondary level of education, the universities, scientific and technical fields, and the public service. Minister for Education, Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh, and France Ambassador to Ghana, Francois Pujolat, signed an agreement to that effect. According to Mr. Pujolat, this will be another way to heighten the relationship between Ghana and France.
We enjoy a global and very important partnership. We, Ghana, France. Our president, Emmanuel Macron, was in Ghana end of last year. It was the first ever visit of a French president to Ghana. As such, it's a symbol of the importance that France attaches to its relationship to Ghana. In that perspective, it put emphasis on the youth. The youth as and probably the main potential and source of opportunities for Africa's future, which means that we have also, let's face it, to tackle some challenges. And one of the main challenges is how to provide the proper education and higher education to this youth.
He further stated that Ghanaian students who study in France should always feel free to go in and out of France.
We, on the occasion of the 4th Higher Education Conference, France-Ghana Higher Education Conference, we launched this France-Ghana alumni platform, which means that we shouldn't cut ties between Ghanaian students going to France to study once they come back or when they begin a career. We should keep in touch, and that's a major purpose of that association, that platform.
Many teachers are expected to be trained on teaching methodology, relevant teaching materials, IT resources, and assessment issues. On the way forward for better regional integration, the French Embassy is very positive on Ghana government's vision to popularize French among the Ghanaian society, to introduce it from the primary level of education, and to consolidate it at the junior high school, senior high school levels, and the tertiary level.
Some junior high school GHS candidates participating in the 2018 Basic Education Certificate Examination (BEC) within the Greater Accra region have expressed confidence in the integrated science paper they wrote on Tuesday, June 5, 2018. During an interaction with GNTV, they revealed that their anxiety prior to this paper was put to rest after they encountered easy questions.
Hopes were high for some students GNTV interacted with on day 2 of the ongoing Basic Education Certificate Examination (BEC), as there was no indication of fear and panic even as students sat for the Integrated Science and Basic Design Technology papers on Tuesday. No incident of examination malpractice has been recorded from centers visited so far as the ongoing Basic Education Certificate Examination entered day 2. According to the students, their nerves were calmed after the test and prayed they encounter similar easy questions in their subsequent prayers.
Today they happened to write science, and so we will ask you how the paper. How did you see the science paper today?
Oh, it was cool, but the questions were too tricky.
When you say tricky, how? Is it that it wasn't as the same as your teachers would put it in your mocks or in your exams?
That's what they did to us. And some of the questions they tried it to us in the class.
Okay. And so when you saw them, how was the feeling like?
I felt good.
Okay. And so how many questions were you able to answer?
I almost answered all.
Almost. So it means you are going to get a what? A 1 or 2?
Yeah.
Which is which?
1.
1,
yeah.
Okay. You are giggling, meaning you did so well. How was the paper today?
Madam, please, it was cool.
Okay.
Yes.
When you say cool, how cool?
It was cool. It was so tricky and so somehow simple.
Okay.
Yes.
And so how many questions were you able to answer?
Madam, please, almost.
Okay.
At first I was scared, but when I took my time I was able to answer everything.
Okay, so how many questions were you able to answer?
Oh, every question. Okay. We're supposed to answer 4 questions. I chose 4 out of 5 questions.
Okay.
I was able to answer all the questions.
Okay. The paper, we will say that we don't know how we'll take it, but it was good.
Okay.
And Most of us, we suffered at the practical side, so we did our best possible. We are hoping to see the results.
Okay.
So that's all.
This paper was nothing. I was able to defeat it. Okay. I answered all they demanded. Okay. They draw it. They asked us to label it and give functions of them. They said we should answer about 4 questions. But actually, my time, I did only 3. Okay. 3. So like, by the time that they give us is like it's normal for us.
Okay.
So,
and so you think you'll be able to pass?
Yeah. By the grace of God, I'll do my best.
Examination supervisor at the Accra High School Center, Mr. Emmanuel Techi, says the exams, which began on Monday, is going on smoothly at the center, as advice given candidates has been key in keeping the students calm. All materials were brought on time, as he narrates to the team what had happened earlier in the day.
Oh, specifically, we don't look at what goes into the paper. We only supervise them. So whatever is on the paper, we don't know. So I wouldn't be able to know what went on into the paper. Everything okay. You could just even see what is happening now. And exactly, they all play on a level ground. We ensure that no foreign material, everything is according to what is expected to be done. For the hall, we have 5 invigilators in the hall. And for the single rooms, we have also each room has got an invigilator.
The expectations and hopes of both students and teachers are high during this period. For a teacher, this is the time to prove that the toil of the students in JHS was never a waste of resources.
It hadn't been really easy because I wasn't the one who took them when they were in Form 1 and Form 2. I just came when they were in Form 3. So they were lacking in some things, but then we were able to catch up. So everything was okay. Yeah.
So listening
we were like everything came, like whatever we plan of doing, we revised at dawn. We were like everything came, so they were very happy. Okay. Yes, they were just having some 1 or 2 challenges. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I want to tell them that they have to be encouraged, but science is not only for guys. Ladies can do it and do it even better. We have female doctors and those things, so they shouldn't be discouraged. They should be encouraged. Okay. Yes, with 1s and 2s. Okay. Yes, that's okay.
The West African Examination Council (WAEC) coordinators of the exams is using 546 centers across the country for the examination. Meanwhile, Parliament has urged the West African Examination Council to ensure that the exams run smoothly to the end.
So we pray these students comes out with flying colors after the results are released. And so away from that, but still focusing on the BEC, where Executive Director of the Civil Society Group Hope for Future Generation, Madam Cecilia Ludunu Sono, is calling for the head of the preparatory of the Prince of Peace Junior High School in the northern region after he failed to register them despite collecting registration fees. To her, this criminal act has already shattered the dreams of these students. She called for the Ghana Education Service and other stakeholders to act swiftly in bringing this proprietor, whose name has not been given yet, to book. She has been speaking to GNTV's Akusia Amwa exclusively.
Some 76 pupils of Prince of Peace Junior High School were left red-faced after they were turned away from the 2018 Basic Education Certificate examination after their proprietor failed to register them despite collecting registration fees. 151 pupils paid 500 cedis each to a proprietor who collected 75,000 cedis. The said head of the school, in his late 30s, only registered 75 final year students and allegedly pocketed 38,000 Ghana cedis. The 76 unregistered pupils were directed to check their index numbers last Sunday at the examination center, where the 2018 BEC was expected to take place from Monday, but they were unable to find neither their names nor the proprietor who had promised to meet them there. Their worst fears were confirmed as they looked on while several students from other schools walked in to start their English exams on Monday. Reacting to this, an education activist, Cecilia Ludunu Sono, has charged authorities to probe this issue as soon as possible and, if possible, give these candidates another chance to sit for the exam.
This is criminal. It's criminal because the children who are not registered, their future is already shattered. They will have to start all over again and prepare themselves. Their hope was to write these exams. Whilst their colleagues are writing exams, they were in the house crying and worried. The future of the children is at stake. It is abuse. It's a human right abuse because basic education is very important. It has always been free, and many of us have passed through that, and that is why we are where we are now. And these children, what is their future? And so it is so disappointing. And I know every child rights organization, everybody who really care for children should raise their voices now for us to talk about this issue. The teacher who has done this must be brought to book. He must be punished severely. Investigation must be launched into the school, the kind of school he's running. Because if you look at it, how can one person be the teacher, be the head, everything in that school? Is there any board that is in place to monitor the operation of the school? Is the school well registered? Is Ghana Education Service aware of all these things?
These students were said to have proceeded to the West African Examination Council office for an intervention, but were told nothing could be done. They were told the same when they went to the Municipal Education Office. Of the 75 registered by the proprietor, only one of them is a pupil at the Prince of Peace Junior High School. The accused took money from other pupils and registered them in the name of the school. The proprietor's failure to register final year students is not new. Last year, several students suffered the same fate. His private school is still allowed to operate despite reports of fraud. He is the only teacher in his school and has no management board. This, Madam Cecilia blamed on system failure.
This is something that Ghanaians might rise up against, because we must really implement or enforce systems that work for us. There is no need copying from other countries who have their own systems in place. I know there is a lot of effort by the government to do things right, but it cannot be done one day. We have to, you see, it doesn't mean whether it's NPP or NDC. If NDC come with a system that is good for all of us as a country, we must adopt it. Everything is becoming politics, and I think that is what some of us are worried about. Civil society is really, really worried the way the country is going. You understand? What happens if NDC also come? They will reverse a lot of gains. Yeah. If NPP come, they reverse. So the country is marking time. We are not really moving on. You see that a lot of resources are coming in. Everybody is thinking that I want to do it this way because the person who started it did it. I think we are in trouble as a country. If we don't depoliticize a lot of things in this country, we'll be in trouble.
Report indicates that the proprietor has been arrested and has submitted a statement at a district police office in Tamale, the northern regional capital. GNTV is facilitating to get the Ghana Education Service to react to this development.
The National HIV/AIDS STI Control Program is considering dropping the age range of consent from 16 to a bit lesser than 15 to enable them capture the teen youth in primary and secondary cycle schools to avert the alarming rate of infection in the country. Speaking to the programs manager for the HIV/AIDS STI Control Program, Dr. Stephen A.C. Addo said they want every barrier to testing in schools to be removed. He added that the process of getting parental consent before testing for infection is making it difficult for them to work effectively. Currently, the HIV/AIDS policy is being revised. As such, he is optimistic it is the surest way to begin with.
To even put in place the right structures to do this well continuously, because you know there are issues of consent for young people, the age of consent and all that, whether the parents are in agreement and all that. So even if we take the sample and we test, we will not be able to link the results to them, because you need to do it through a certain framework which is acceptable. Yes, so currently the HIV and AIDS policy is being revised, and one of the things we are looking at is the age of consent, whether to drop it further. For HIV, for National AIDS Control Program, we would like every barrier to services to be removed, like barriers to testing and all that. So as much as possible, if there is any limitation of granting consent by parents and all that, we want it removed so that we can screen and then link people to treatment. Because in this age where there is treatment, everybody who is positive, we must know. And therefore, even if the age of consent can be 10, we like it, and we are pushing for it, making a case for it. Because we also know that there's what we call the concept of mature minors. If you are a child, the minor is less than 16 years. If the age of adult in Ghana is 18, so strictly speaking, you need consent to do tests in these people, conduct. But if a young person is behaving like an adult, gets pregnant, you know that is a mature minor. So this survey looks at 15 years and above. So if there are 15-year-olds who are getting pregnant, then they should be treated like adults and therefore can be offered HIV testing and screening.
And so if the young ones are getting pregnant, then they should be treated like adult. Now we now take a look onto the international front. At least 180 prisoners are at large after escaping from a jail in the Nigerian city of Minna during a raid on the facility. According to the Minister and Prison Authority official, gunmen attacked the medium security prison in the city in the central Nigerian state on Sunday around 8 p.m.
Interior Minister General Abdul Rahman Dabazu said that 30 inmates had been captured, but 180 fled. A prison service official added that the number of prisoners at large could be higher. Prison breaks periodically occur in the West African country, which is beset by security challenges, including kidnappings, banditry, and an Islamist militant insurgency, and communal violence between farmers and herders over grazing rights. Prison authorities have stated that an investigation was underway to determine the circumstances surrounding the raid and escape. President Muhammadu Buhari won elections in 2015 partially on promises to bring security to Nigeria. He plans to seek a second term in an election scheduled to take place next February.
Libya's strongman Marshal Khalifa Haftar has announced that the victory of his forces was near in East Derna, a city controlled by Islamists and jihadist militias, and where the humanitarian situation is critical.
Forces loyal to Haftar have been conducting a military offensive since last month to liberate Derna, the only area in eastern Libya to escape the control of the self-proclaimed Libyan National Army he leads. This coastal town, located more than 1,000 kilometers east of Tripoli and about 3 kilometers east of Benghazi, is under the control of Islamist and jihadist militias since the fall of Muammar Gaddafi in 2011. In a video posted on YouTube, Marshal Haftar stated that his forces had already cleaned up the Derna suburbs. He added that once Derna is liberated, his forces will deploy into the city to take total control of infrastructure, adding they will ensure the safety of residents and buildings by establishing security barriers. Haftar also asked his troops to respect the legal procedures relating to prisoners and deliver them to the competent organizations. The NLA, whose ground forces are supported by air raids and heavy artillery bombardment, have been besieging the city for nearly 2 years.
And South Sudan's President Salva Kiir has welcomed the regional bloc's proposal for face-to-face talks with rebel leader Dr. Riek Machar. The Intergovernmental Authority on Development has been leading talks between the government and the rebels to revive the 2015 peace deal.
Kiir met Ethiopia's Prime Minister, who heads the IGAD Council last week, and the two leaders agreed that the regional bloc's proposal for peace is viable. President Kiir's spokesperson, Attorney Wek Attorney, said that his boss had welcomed face-to-face talks with Machar as the only way to forge lasting peace in the restive country. President Kiir and rebel leader Dr. Machar last met in July 2016 when the violence erupted at the presidential palace. Dr. Machar fled the country and is currently in South Africa under house arrest. His group has previously insisted that Machar must be part of negotiations for peace and stability of South Sudan. In March this year, IGAD stated that it would end Machar's house arrest if he would agree to renounce violence. The statement indicates that a proposed meeting between the two protagonists ahead of an African Union summit on July 1st in Mauritania will inform a final decision on Machar's participation in the peace process.
3 suicide bombers have killed 10 people at a mosque in Niger's southeastern city of Difa, who had gathered after breaking the Ramadan fast. The area around Difa, close to Lake Chad and the borders with Nigeria, Chad and Cameroon, is a stronghold for two factions of militant group Boko Haram, which have been fighting to establish an Islamic State in the region.
Southeast Niger has seen sporadic attacks of militants loosely linked to Boko Haram. The Islamist group has gradually split into two factions, one of which has pledged allegiance to Syria-based Islamic State. Troops from Niger and the United States killed 11 Islamist militants from the Islamic State affiliate in a firefight last December. Boko Haram sometimes uses female suicide bombers in their campaigns against security forces and civilians, in part because they attract less suspicion. More than 15,000 people have been killed and millions displaced by the conflict in the Lake Chad region after a deadly assault on the Nigerian town of Boso in June 2016 that killed 32 soldiers. Chad sent 2,000 troops to help Niger, but were withdrawn in October last year.
U.S. prosecutors have accused Donald Trump's former campaign manager, Paul Manafort, of trying to tamper with potential witnesses ahead of his trial.
Robert Mueller, who is investigating alleged Russian election interference, stated that Mr. Manafort had contacted people related to his money laundering and tax fraud case in breach of his bail terms, although Mr. Manafort, 69, denies all allegations. They are not connected with allegations of collusion between Russia and the Trump campaign during the U.S. election. Mr. Trump denies any collusion and has consistently spoken of a witch hunt. Mr. Manafort's first trial on charges of money laundering and illegal lobbying is due to begin in September. According to Mr. Mueller's motion, Mr. Manafort contacted witnesses who would be called to testify about unlawful lobbying allegedly carried out on behalf of Ukraine's previous pro-Russian government. Mr. Manafort is said to have made tens of millions of dollars from a campaign to bolster that government's reputation within Europe and the US, but failing to register this work.
Now, Iran has stated that it has begun work on increasing its uranium enrichment capacity in case a 2015 nuclear deal with world powers collapses.
The agency says it is officially notifying the United Nations Nuclear Agency about the move in a letter. This comes after President Donald Trump withdrew the U.S. from the deal with Iran last month. Head of Iran's Atomic Energy Organization, Ali Akbar Salehi, told reporters on Tuesday that preparations were underway to build new centrifuges. The work will enable Iran to make more uranium hexafluoride, a key ingredient in the enrichment process. Mr. Salehi said that this was in line with instructions from Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei, who has offered officials to be prepared to step up enrichment if the nuclear deal, known as JCPOA, falls apart completely. Mr. Salehi insists Iran is acting within the framework of the rules and commitments of the nuclear deal. The accord, signed with the US, France, Germany, the UK, Russia and China, limits uranium enrichment by Iran to 3.67%, far below the roughly 90% threshold of weapons-grade material. In exchange, the country received relief from crippling sanctions. Under the agreement, Iran can build parts for the centrifuges as long as it does not put them into operation within the first decade. President Trump argued that these contributions did not go far enough to curb Iran's nuclear ambitions and pulled out of the agreement, leaving the remaining European signatories scrambling to save it.
That's all for the news here on GNTV with me, Bryce, and now Amaning. We'll be live here from our studios at number 10 and in Power Street here in Slam Down Accra, the capital of Ghana in West Africa. Have a good morning.
Hello and welcome to Pay Global app. Pay Global allows you to send and receive money into your mobile wallet instantly from around the world. It makes money transfer easy, affordable, smooth, and convenient for agents and users. Roaming services are also available globally. So, how to get started? First, you have to download the Pay Global app. Step 1. Open Google Play or Play Store using your Android device. Step 2. Search by typing Pay Global in the Google Play search engine. Step 3. Locate and click on Pay Global and install. Step 4. After installing